What's the deal, YouTube? It's your boy NXTGEN720, and I am back with another video. I have a very, very special guest today. My man Madz Gaming. Quite sure you guys have seen his videos on YouTube. Well, like I said, we're getting right into this. Let me ask you a question. How long have you been doing YouTube? What brought
Uh,
you to YouTube? You know what I mean? And, what got you into gaming? So you take it in three parts. Like, first of all, how long have you been a gamer? Something new?
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, actually, I'm pretty old guy. I'm nearly 40, so 37 really. So I've been gaming for at least 30 years, to be honest with you. So
Okay.
I kind of first got into gaming really like when I first saw the Atari 2600 at my friend's house. We played Pong and that kind of stuff. I must have been 6, 7 years old. Yeah. Then I'm Polish. I'm from Poland, so the consoles back then wasn't really that popular in Poland. So we were more about Commodore 64. So so those small computers, right? So Atari and Commodore 64. And then that was my first computer. Then I actually moved on to the Amiga. Then I got PC, and my first console was actually PlayStation 1. The original PSX, right? And then since then I played on Sega Saturn. I owned Sega Saturn, Sega Dreamcast, original Xbox, Xbox 360, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. Nintendo GameCube. I think that was I had at some point I had even the Nintendo Nintendo Game Boy Advanced. Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and now Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So I did try different flavors of different kind of gaming platforms, and I play on PC a little bit as well. So yeah. So yeah, I've been in gaming for a while. So yeah.
So like I said, I was talking a little bit behind the scenes. You more or less said that you're more of an Xbox guy than a PlayStation guy, which whatever, it doesn't matter what you choose. You're more of an Xbox guy or a PlayStation guy or a Nintendo guy.
I'm actually more of a Xbox guy, but I kind of like this platform and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's more about games that I like to play and stuff. Why am I really an Xbox guy? Because the thing is, I got dragged into the whole Xbox kind of thing with Xbox 360, right? This console had a lot of great games, Halos, Gears of Wars, PG, what was it called? PGR3, Project Gotham Racing, Forzas, all kinds of games. And it was a very good platform. I actually owned two or three of those because obviously, the famous exactly right. So I think everyone got that at some point, especially with with those originals. Those the first Xbox 360s, because the Slims didn't really have that problem. So I always liked the Xbox 360 and stuff. But I did own PlayStation 3 later on in the generation as well, because obviously. Sony had very good exclusives then, and before the beginning of this generation, obviously there was this whole talk about the online 24/7 thing, the DRM and that kind of stuff. This whole drama around Xbox One, and to be honest with you, for a while I was like, no bloody way, I'm not getting Xbox One. Why would I get one, right? But then obviously they actually canceled all those policies and stuff. And what really got me into Xbox One original Xbox One was obviously the game. So, you know, it had actually, like, from my perspective, obviously, you know, don't kill me. I'm not saying that, you know, that must be everyone's sort of opinion, but, you know, in my personal opinion, Xbox One had actually better games, better exclusives for at least 2-3 years.
Who guessed today? Sorry, my man Madz. What the hell going on? I'm sorry. There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, so you know, and then after you know those 2-3 years, you know, Sony started, you know, actually releasing some good games as well. So I got PlayStation 4, but you know, I like the Xbox ecosystem. I like the backwards compatibility. I like EA Access. I use it once for a while. You know, now I probably be using the Xbox Game Pass at some point as well. So, you know, I'm kind of like, you know, I like what I'm getting from Xbox One. Obviously, you know, as always, nothing is nothing is perfect, right? So neither is Xbox. So there are some flaws. You know, we could use some more you know, exclusives and stuff. But you know, I'm sure that these will come sooner or later as well. So yeah.
All right. So, like I said, I'm gonna get into the juicy stuff. Now, you gave me some answers like a politician. Okay, so we're gonna get down to the juicy stuff. Now, I watched a couple of your earlier videos. I'm subscribed to your channel. Stay tuned for more. And
thanks.
And I remember I seen that you bought the PlayStation 4 Pro, or you were talking about getting a Pro. Then I seen that you got rid of your Pro. But what was it about the Pro that you didn't care for, that you didn't like? Like, what was it?
Well, okay, here's the thing. You know, if anyone watches my videos, I was always saying that, you know, 4K, you know, resolution is not everything, right? Yeah. We had the whole, you know, 1080p versus 900p or 720p drama, you know, since 2013, right? With PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And it's kind of the same thing right now. It's like, you know, checkerboard render, or, you know, 4K versus native 4K and stuff. But at the end of the day, resolution doesn't really make that huge of a difference in terms of, like, you know, even graphics. I like nice graphics, right? And obviously the higher resolution, the better, you know, image quality and stuff. But that doesn't make the whole graphics. And what I really care about right now is the you know, better shadows, better lighting, better you know, textures, or what have you, right? And with PlayStation 4 Pro, I'm afraid we're not really getting that. You know, I did own PlayStation 4 Pro for like 6-7 months, I guess. I got it day one. You know, I was riding on this hype train and stuff. You know, I was making a lot of videos and comparison videos and that kind of stuff about PlayStation 4 Pro. I did unboxing and stuff. You know, it was, you know, generally speaking, the console, you know, has its, you know, advantages and stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, it's not really that different from what PlayStation 4, regular PlayStation 4 offers you, right? The textures are pretty much the same. Sure, in some games you've got some enhancements, like, you know, sometimes you've got the better draw distance, sometimes you've got better texture filtering, and what have you. But, you know, these are really small, minor, you know, changes. So, and the thing is that, you know, what really got me kind of a little bit angry about it, and I even made video about it, and I got a lot of hate for this video, where I kind of criticized not necessarily the developer, well, actually, you know, not necessarily Sony for that, but maybe even the, like, developer. And I made a video about Horizon Zero Dawn. So this huge exclusive that was released like 4 months or 5 months after PlayStation 4 Pro released. And, you know, I was actually betting that, you know, Guerrilla Games is going to make a full, you know, use of the PlayStation 4 Pro, you know, specs. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, that was not really the case, because, you know, apart from higher resolution, and, you know, I'm sure that this game looks really, really good in, you know, checkerboard at 4K and, you know, HDR. But, you know, PlayStation 4 version of the game, in terms of, like, you know, graphics, shadows, and that kind of stuff looks pretty much identical.
Yeah.
So the question is it really worth it? And if Xbox wasn't really releasing another console and stuff, I would probably still stick to my PlayStation 4 Pro. But with Xbox One X, we'll be probably getting, and hopefully we'll be getting, much more than just higher resolution. And every single time you kind of read an article or watch some YouTubers talking about PlayStation 4 Pro and versus Xbox One X and stuff, you hear about about this resolution war, but I don't think that it's that significant. I think the kind of the area that Xbox One X should really kind of shine is the actual better graphical fidelity, and I really do hope that Microsoft will deliver on that.
Okay, so listen, check it out. Right now, again, let me say this. Since I've been doing YouTube, like this is the first time I'm actually speaking to you. I reached out to you, I think it was Sunday. I say I want to come on an interview, but this is the first time I'm actually speaking to you.
Yeah, that's correct.
And I'm not gonna go into the whole story again, but like I said, since I've been doing this, you probably met your fair share of people that work in the industry, or just regular, Joe Small. Like I said, you'd be surprised who watches your channel. Last year, about a year and a half ago, I got some documents, right, regarding the PlayStation 4 Pro. And I never really showed them anyone because they had the developer's ID on top. You know what I mean? I would just talk about them in my videos. No one believed me, but this is before Kotaku and Eurogame and all this stuff. But this certain developer was asking for more RAM. You know what I mean? And the issue with the Pro, because I bought the Pro day one. Now, if they're just talking about what you call real world performance, and then you have what you call specs on paper.
Yeah.
Just looking at the specs on paper, the PS4 is, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to say 1.8 teraflops, and the PS4 Pro is, the PS4 standard is 1.8, and the PS4 Pro is 4.2 teraflops, right? So we talk about something at least is twice as powerful, right, than what we already had since 2013. So when I went out and bought the Pro, I was ready. Again, I'm more of an Xbox guy. I bleed green, but I'm a gamer at the end of the day. I like tech and I like gadgets, okay? So when the Pro was finally announced, whatever the case, I went down and I pre-ordered, paid for it. I was excited because the reason why I thought I was getting, they call it better graphics, okay?
Yeah, and I was in the same boat, basically, yeah.
And it was crazy when I did a video about this. No one understood what I was saying, you know what I mean? Or they act like, hey, say I was quote unquote damage controlling or hating on PlayStation, okay? All right. The reason why, and Sony to me, they kind of boxed itself into a corner with all this resolution stuff, because you got to realize at the start of the generation, it was Sony that made a big deal out of 1080p. They said 1080p makes you a better gamer. That's been their, the stickler for this whole generation. 1080p. The Xbox was 900p, okay? Wasn't about who had the better games. It was about Sony had the quote unquote the better version of the multiplats because they were in 1080p. I mean, cool. That was the landscape. Now we would like to say that, but Sony has the game. Sony didn't start getting games till guess about now. But the first 2.5, 3 years, all they had was Bloodborne and The Last of Us Remastered and the better version of the multiplats. Okay, now it's just the truth. You even had Sony's higher up saying that their first party lineup is sparse. Okay, now this is not my opinion. This is coming from Sony. So
yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So bringing it into present day of now, what I mean, more or less. I got the Pro last year. Now again, I have a 4K TV, KS9000 and a KS85. I even have last year's model, the JS series. Okay, so I have 4K HDR. And this is the God's honest truth, because I know a lot of Sony fans are trying to say that the X and it's not going to sell because the Pro didn't really hit the ground, or didn't really catch on with the mass. We'll say what to the casuals. The hardcore went out and bought it, but the casuals are what brings the money in. There's far more casuals than hardcore. The problem again, like I said, with the Pro is that when the average Joe Smo walk into Best Buy or GameStop or whatever, the Pro doesn't look that much better graphically than the Slim for $250. So and again, so why would I go out, and spend $400 when I'm getting the same Same thing. My TV is going to upscale anyway if you have a 4K TV. And it was Sony that said that all PlayStation 4s can do HDR. You understand what I'm saying? So then that was
Yeah.
another knock against it. Sony said, you know what, I guess they were trying to take a dig at Microsoft. All our consoles are going to do HDR. So that was another reason why people didn't run out to go buy it. And I do think HDR is a big deal. I love HDR in Forza Horizon and in Gears. Once it's implemented right, it looks amazing. You know what I mean? But again, I was initially turned off because had I knew what I know now, I wouldn't have bought the Pro. You know what I mean? Outside of maybe besides me doing YouTube, if I didn't have a channel or anything, I wouldn't have bought a Pro because again, the games didn't look any better graphically. I've been saying this, Mad Gaming, since about 2013. Because I always thought it was crazy for console gamers to argue over resolution and frames per second. Not about who had the better graphics, not about who had the better exclusives. This whole generation's been about 1080p, 900p, or whatever the case may be. Cool, fine. Things change. I get it. All right. So, like I said, moving forward. So, in these papers and these documents, they were asking Sony for more RAM, and then it didn't really catch on with it. I didn't really understand, why, or whatever the case may be. Sony was saying at least try to get the games to 1800p and checkerboard them up to 4K or whatever the case. But a lot of times, a lot of these games are 1400p, which again is cool. I don't know when it has a 1400p TV. I don't have a problem with the resolution. Okay, if Sony was smart, but we're gonna get into them because they're supposed to be releasing a more powerful Pro. If they were smart, they would just, if they can get the game to 60, if not, fine, do 1080p 30, let it upscale to 4K, and give us super sampling and better graphics. You understand what I'm saying? Because it doesn't have enough RAM or a higher memory bandwidth to give you a higher resolution and better textures. Prime example, you look at Digital Foundry, just did a review on the Destiny 2 beta. And this is the key word right here, because when people, I try to explain to people that the X is going to be doing something totally different than the Pro. If you look at the Digital Foundry analysis of Destiny 2, the beta, Destiny 2 on the PS4 Pro is 4K, check it whatever the case. But the key word there is that it's using low settings the same as the PS4 Slim. You know what I mean? Which is the assets, which is the the textures and stuff like that. It's using the same low settings as the PS4 Slim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, that is a telltale sign right there. So again, and then you had, like you said, you had developers. You mentioned this earlier that came out and said that the Xbox One X is be able to run things on what's the game? Arc, or I think the game is Arc. It's going to be able to run it in 60 epic settings. Check it what the game. It's going to be a huge difference, a big difference. I mean, night and day. You know what I mean? So, like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think Sony kind of dropped the ball with still trying to bang home this resolution thing instead of giving us better graphics, or like, what do you think about that?
Well, the problem is that Sony would be better off with adding more RAM and stuff, obviously, because here's the thing: just resolution doesn't make really a better graphics, right? Resolution doesn't really make the game to look okay. Well, it does make the game to look better because the image is clear and and sharp and stuff, but it doesn't really make the game to look better in terms of like graphical fidelity. And and this is the thing, like let's like in PC world, right? You've got like a brand new graphics card, like releasing every I don't know 6 months, a year or two or something like that, right? We keep getting a brand new graphics card every year. And the thing is that with more power, with more teraflops, with more ROPs, with more shaders and stuff comes more memory. Why? Because it's not only about how many pixels you put on the screen, but also what sort of textures, lighting, that kind of stuff comes with it, right? And I think that Sony just wanted to make a quick upgrade, and the problem is that a lot of PlayStation 4 owners actually don't see the difference, right? Because as you said, the textures are pretty much the same, The lighting is pretty much the same. Shadows sometimes are better. You've got a better draw distance here and there. But at the end of the day, it's just basically the same game with the same assets, just in higher resolution, right? So there's not really a big incentive really to get this PlayStation 4 Pro, unless you really kind of like a PlayStation 4 obviously fan, and you don't really care about Xbox and stuff, and or any other platform.
Hey man, I guess I think we off the air. I got booted out. I don't know what the hell happened. Hold on. Yeah, I think we off the air. Hold on. No, it says we live. Wait. It says we live. I don't have. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Let me hop back in. It says we live. Keep talking. I'm gonna hop back in. It says we live. I'm sorry. Go.
Okay, so no worries. Yeah, so basically, obviously with PlayStation 4 Pro, you just basically get higher resolution versions of PlayStation 4 games, right? With very little graphical fidelity enhancements basically added to it. So, and that's the thing. So that's why many PlayStation 4 owners were like, well, I don't really need Pro, to be honest with you, because games pretty much looks the same, right? So that's the thing. And could Sony do a better? Probably they could, but obviously then PlayStation 4 Pro wouldn't cost $400. It would be much more expensive, and they wanted really to make this kind of budget premium kind of device, to be honest with you, right? So and that's what they did. I mean, even Phil Spencer did say that they had those two prototypes, right, of Xbox One X. And they were thinking about releasing a game console, new game console in 2016, but then it would be pretty much on par with PlayStation 4 Pro, right? And that they didn't really want to do it, so that's why they waited a year. They added more RAM, more power and stuff, and we are getting much more capable machine. Hello, NXTGEN, are you there? Okay, NXTGEN is gone again. I think. Okay, guys, do you hear me, or was I put it out as well?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear. I heard you the first time. You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I didn't hear you.
I heard you the first time. I was talking to you. I was saying, I don't know if the audience heard, but I was saying what Phil said was they could have did what Sony did. You know what I mean? And basically Sony, they kind of, I guess you want to say, took the cheap way out. The reason why I said they could have added at least more RAM to it.
I didn't see it when it popped up. I missed it.
What the hell was that?
I got you. Battlefield 1 giveaway.
Yo, I don't know. I think somebody's dossing me or something. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Okay.
Hello, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Wow, yeah, man.
Okay, NXTGEN is gone. Not sure if you can hear me.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
No, I can't hear him. I don't know what the hell is going on here, man. Jesus Christ, bro. This is some XBL. I can't hear anything. I can't hear nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, can you guys hear me? My mic is going up and down, but I can't hear nothing.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on. I think somebody's doxing me or something. I keep getting booted off. I don't know what the hell's going on here, man. Like the third time it didn't happen. But anyway, we're gonna try this again. So anyway, Phil said that he could have took a half step forward or whatever the case may be, but he wanted to true forward. I guess as far as technology. Now, if you look at one thing about the Xbox One X, what I noticed from the offset, that is a how you say finely tuned built machine.
Mhm.
Gripes complaints about them staying with the quote unquote Jaguar cores or whatever the case. But I think what a lot of people overlook is the fact that they have DirectX 12 built right there into the into the motherboard. You know what I mean? That can handle I forgot how many numbers at a time, but that in itself, is huge. You know, you got vapor chamber cooling, all this stuff, 4K HDR recording. It's a beast of a console, and just think about this in an entirety. And one leg up that Microsoft has over Sony is that they are a software company. You know what I mean? And Sony's more of a hardware company. I get it. And like I said, Sony didn't really invest much into their API. You know what I mean? But here's where Microsoft, which had the Windows UDP, where the games can either scale up or scale down according to the console's hardware. Um, I'm sorry, into the Windows 10 hardware, whatever that may be. You know, whether you're on a phone or PC or console, it will scale up or scale down. Now, again, we're looking at the Xbox One X ahead with 9 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM, clocked at I believe at 326 gigabytes per second, and whereas the Pro has 5 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM, clocked at about 219 gigabytes per second. I mean, so that in itself between there and there is a huge. Uh, the Pro only has 5 allocated for gaming, and here it is. The Xbox One X has 9. You know, and
Mm.
again, people are still trying to say or trying to pass this narrative that it's not going to be a big difference between the Pro games and the Xbox One games. Now, I'm going to say this, and something I said at E3. Now, we can go back and forth again, Match, about who has the better exclusives. You might like God of War. I might like, Gears of War. Fine. But one thing we all share the same and alike are the multi-plats. You know what I mean? Are the multi-plats. And going forward, Microsoft is going to have the, how you say, quote unquote, the better version of the multi-plats. I mean, remember when E3 started and they showed off Metro,
Yeah.
and you see the grass, and show the insects. That blew my mind. And one of the gripes I had against this generation, to be honest, I didn't like all the cross-gen development because, again, normally when a new generation comes out, that's it for the previous generation. And I really felt like the PS3 and the 360 were holding back the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. I hated that. Some of the biggest games that come out this generation, you could have got on older 8 or 9 year old hardware. Destiny. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, Forza Horizon 2, Little Big Planet 3. You know, all those games you could have got on older hardware. Now, like I said, we never really got that oh shit moment. Like to me, I'll give you an example. Oh shit moment for me last generation was the first time I seen Gears of War and they were running up the steps and they had the chainsaw. That blew my mind. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
didn't
The
really
light,
get that this generation.
the
You know?
lighting was spectacular back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I didn't really get that this generation. Now listen, let me tell you this. If you don't know Mad Catch, I'm sorry, Mad Catch, Mad's Gaming. I'm a huge God of War fan. I'm a God of War fanboy. I think the new God of War looks amazing. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But comparing that to what I've seen at Anthem, you know what I mean? And again, um, you had BioWare and you had EA come out and confirm to Digital Foundry like that was running on Xbox, X or Scorpio's hardware. That's what I'm excited for. You know what I mean? But one thing I think Microsoft should really do, because again, I think people are trying to pass this narrative again, which I don't understand. Because we didn't hear this with the Pro, and I'm going to get your opinion on this. When the Pro was released and were coming out, I didn't really hear too much talk. Well, I don't have a 4K TV. 4K, no one has a 4K TV, right? And I know people personally that within this community that went out and bought the Pro and don't even have a 4K television. You know what I mean? Because the Pro doesn't really do any super sampling. But what I think Microsoft should really do, even though they mentioned it at E3, because you have people at the IGNs and all that stuff. Well, I'm not going to go out and buy a 4K TV just for the X. You know what I mean? You don't need one. Because again, even if you just have a 1080p display, granted you're not going to get any HDR, but in an ideal situational settings, you should have a 4K TV. but because of the super sampling, games are still going to look amazing. They're going to look better graphically on your console. And I think Microsoft really, I mean, they mentioned it again, like I said, at E3, but the average Joe, the average gamer, the casual, don't know what super sampling is. So I think, but even like some of the technical stuff that that the X is doing, that the Pro isn't doing, they need to break it down into layman's term. You know what I mean? You know, everybody know what graphics are, or visual fidelity. You know what? They're gonna really show, like I said, or bank on the difference. Like, hey, this is what it is on a 1080p display. I'm here. This on a 4K display. You know what I mean? And compare, compare the same game. So they're going to be running the same software to it running on the Xbox One S, and show them the difference. I mean, the night and day difference. I think they really should nail that home about if you don't have one, you're going to still be able to take advantage of the systems. All the power. Listen, this thing is 6 teraflops. That's why I'm so disgusted with Sony, because I feel like they missed a great opportunity. The Pro is 4.2 teraflops. You understand what I'm saying? And the games don't look better graphically. I don't know if it's because of the API or so on Sony's software. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't know. Like, what do you like? You know what I mean? What do you think?
It's mainly due to the memory system, and it's not only about the amount of memory, but also about memory bandwidth. Because I mean, let me say this. I mean, Xbox One X, at least on the paper and the specs and stuff, because to be honest with you, we haven't seen too many games apart from Forza 7 yet. I mean, we've seen Anthem and stuff, but proper gameplay yet. Xbox One X, at least on paper, is more balanced system, right? So they, CPU wise, it's not it's not really a monster, but as you said, it has these this DirectX 12 built into the compute units of the GPU. But in terms of graphics, memory and stuff, and all really components, it's balanced. I mean, they actually enhanced. They enhanced pretty much everything.
Yes.
So with more power, they came up with more memory. With more memory, they also added more, faster memory, much more faster memory. Also, to feed the data into the memory, CPU and GPU, they also equipped Xbox One X with faster hard drive, right? It's like 40% faster and stuff.
Yes.
So, it's all about those, tiny details that actually makes a difference. And obviously, nobody really knows what sort of modifications they've done to the GPU and stuff. Digital Foundry was talking about around 60 different customizations to both CPU and GPU. I mean, that's a lot.
I think they said they went game by game. You know what I mean? Like something that's never been done before.
Exactly. They analyzed the games, and they actually made the hardware around it, right?
Yeah, around the games. It's never been done before. Like, and that's not, look, even that right there. And I think that kind of like Digital Foundry, they kind of went over, like brushed over, like lost over, whatever the case. That's huge. They went game by game, and any bottlenecks or any snags that the game may have had or would have had, they worked them out. Like, you look at games like The Witcher 3. All those games are going back and getting patches. You know what I mean? Not just a higher resolution, but again, the PC textures, the 4K assets. This is going to be huge. You know what I mean? Huge.
And it's actually going to be easier to sell. To be honest with you, because with 4K, it's actually different to show it on the YouTube stream, Mixer, what have you, right? Although we do get 4K. 4K streams, from YouTube and stuff right now, but it's still not the same sort of level, quality. But going back to the Xbox One X enhancements and the whole 1080p thing, super sampling and stuff. Obviously, super sampling does make the actual image quality better, but the most important thing is that thanks to the more memory and stuff, you've got a chance to get 4K textures, better graphical fidelity and stuff, like better shadows, better lighting and stuff, and all things combined in one game will actually make the game to stand out from the crowd, right? So you will actually not need a 4K TV to see the difference, to see the benefits of running the game on Xbox One X. I mean, obviously that's theory. That's if developer will go to the obviously effort and to actually take advantage of Xbox One X, obviously, because I mean, let's be real, not every single developer will do that. But there's going to be plenty of them, and the fact that Xbox One X is super easy to develop for, it's super easy to port the games from both Xbox One and PC as well. I mean, we've heard all kinds of story about games being ported in like 2 hours, 1 day, 2 days, depending on the game. I mean, that's super easy, super fast, and and these ports, like those 2 hours, 2 days ports, don't require any optimization at all. So obviously, if they spend more time and optimize it even further, then obviously, we will get better graphics, better performance, etc., right?
Okay, well, again, this is again something else that I kind of mentioned. And, I guess Sony fans. I mean, don't get me wrong, but this generation has been about power, right? And I was told this maybe a while ago. I said when it comes to hardware, no longer will Microsoft get outdone. And I remember, well, as far as power wise, I remember Bill Gates himself. Now he's been a step down or whatever the case may be, but he's been interviewed by one of those like tech. I don't know, it was Teddy or said or something, and you had a crew of not a crew, you had an audience of students or whatever at MIT or something. And this one female stood up and was like, she had stock in Microsoft. This is around, like you said, the beginning part of 2014. And when, the Microsoft had this bad image, I guess, the stigma with the Xbox One X. And I don't know if they quite acquired Nokia yet or whatever the case may be. But it was this when this talk came out of saying, shout out my man Claudia, thank you for the $10 tip in the super chat. Appreciate it. That should they, spin off the Xbox division. And she was asking them basically, the PS4 Pro, I'm sorry, the PS4 is more powerful than the Xbox One. And Bill said there, he said, you know what? We don't have to play second fiddle to anyone, you know what I mean? If we want, we can just go out there and make a blank check, more or less, you know what I mean? And I remember me talking to her, I was hearing a conversation, but that I was in. It was a conversation. I wasn't in the, almost like this. I was there in a conversation, right, with some developers, right? And they were talking about what they were talking about, you know what I mean? And I was in a Skype call with them, right? And this is a certain developer. When I say developer, he works for one of the 3 major companies. You only say EA, Activision, or Rockstar. He works for one of those guys there, right? Or Ubisoft. He works for one of them guys there, right? And he said, when it comes to hardware, Microsoft is never going to be outgunned again. You know what I mean? Now, listen, I do expect the PS5, if we're even still dealing with generations, to be more powerful than the X. Is going to be newer hardware. You know what I mean? But like I was like in the day, like I was telling some Sony fans, whatever the case may be, Sony really doesn't have an incentive to release a PlayStation 5 because the PS4 is still selling so well. You understand what I'm saying? Why go back and start from scratch all over again and again? And people, always have such a I say negative thing about Don Matrix, but Donnie D was a cool, small guy. And I remember again when Steam, quote unquote, was trying to get into the, how you say, the not the console market, was trying to get into the hardware business. And they asked Don Matrix back in like 2011, 2012, before we actually saw what the Steam machine was about or whatever, right? And he said, I don't know about that, man. It costs a lot of money to be in the hardware business, you know what I mean? Which it does. It costs a lot of money, but not just like I said, what they're spending on parts, the R&D, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to make sure, hey, say no red, no red rings of death. And again, and maybe you can add to this, and we can talk about Sony releasing this new quote unquote more powerful Pro. That I wonder how did Microsoft, they were, when the numbers started coming out, that they spent $2 billion with AMD, right? As far as developing the Xbox One, right? And I got to thinking, like, this when I was feeding in all to the secret sauce, and you had my man Mr. Media X out there with his Titan stuff. So I was saying that how the hell did Microsoft spend $2 billion and come up with the cheaper console when here's with Sony, well, basically, using, how you say, off the shelf parts. I think they invested was like $400 million. How the hell did Microsoft spend about $2 billion?
I think I can answer that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, yeah, I did hear about this deal, talking about like $2 or $3 billion, dollars or whatever, right, with AMD and stuff. But the reason why Xbox One, the only reason why Xbox One was really, less powerful console was the fact that, the whole thing about this console was supposed to be about media, right? And no, they focused so much on the media and stuff that they were like, well, who cares about power? It's going to be about, kind of like, home entertainment, right? So they wanted to combine actually too many things into one box. And, they probably spend more money, developing Kinect 2.0, because I've heard that that's a pretty, damn good technology there, but that, it wasn't really used properly. So I think that they actually spent more money on developing Kinect rather than just Xbox One X. And here's the thing: they just didn't really want to. Probably they were not really too much concerned about the whole spec stuff, because if you remember, Xbox 360 back in the days wasn't really the more powerful console. PlayStation 3 was more capable, but it was really easy to develop for. Yeah, and it actually had better GPU, but worse CPU. And so I think they had this kind of thinking that, well, we don't necessarily need the top-notch specs to actually run our games and stuff. And to be honest with you, we've got Kinect, we've got TV and stuff, so it will sell anyway. So I think that was the thing. And if you think about it, they even at the end of Xbox 360 era, they kind of focused more on Kinect and stuff, Kinect games and stuff, rather than like a typical hardcore kind of experience with Xbox 360, right? So and I think that's where the money went. They spent actually more money on the services.
It was for to, like I said, to they put down on their next, because once a console comes out or whatever the case, they already started working on what's next, what they're going to do next. You know what I mean? And I think when I heard they got it a little cheaper, because again, even with the original Xbox One, the original, everything in there is custom, and even like I said, far as, and the reason why Microsoft with the whole custom route, with their consoles, is because the OG Xbox, the original Xbox, and why it was never really profitable. I just created a video about this a long time ago, and the OG Xbox only turned a profit for it was either 1 month or a few months, is when Halo 2 came out, and they sold so much software that. See, the problem with the OG Xbox and why it was never profitable, and why Microsoft, all their consoles now are custom, like everything in there is custom, they own more or less, is because the OG Xbox, which is really, really powerful, NVIDIA owned the GPU
graphics chip,
yeah, and the console was never meant to be sold under $300. But I remember, like I said again, so and smarter Sony, as soon as the OG Xbox came out, Halo was doing pretty well. You know what I mean? Everyone's talking about Halo. Even though the PlayStation 2 was still reigning supreme, but when the Halo started to pick up momentum, what Sony did automatically wouldn't cut the price of the PlayStation 2 by $100. You know what I mean? So it went from $300 to $200, and that forced Microsoft to cut the price of the, to the OG Xbox to $200. And NVIDIA, again, since Microsoft was new to the business, NVIDIA didn't care about all that. They still wanted whatever they agreed to per unit. They still wanted their money. You cutting the price, that's on you. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? And I don't know, that kind of rustling going forward. And like I said, even with the 360, that's why Microsoft, again, was such in a rush to get out of that generation. It was only 4 years. You know what I mean? I think the 7th generation lasted way too long. But you remember when the 360 came out, that was it for the original Xbox. I mean, nothing, no games, no nothing. Because the thing was, they was losing so much money, it was, on the console. And then they got hit with the red ring of death and all that stuff like that. But Microsoft wanted to hurry up and get out of that generation, because they weren't making anything on those boxes. They were sold at a loss, every console. And normally, at the end of the day, most hardware is sold at a loss normally, and they make it back with the software sells. but they were really taking a hit, like I said, on the OG Xbox. You know what I mean? With that, you know what I mean? But even like I said, I heard like I said that what there was for a couple things. Now, even like I said with the media thing, I don't. Here's the thing. And maybe I'm the only one that looks at it like this because I don't really think that was the issue. The issue was when Microsoft unveiled the console, they misread the audience because it wasn't your casual gamer that took off work to go see this. This was your hardcore fanatic gamers, and we were waiting to see new hardware and new stuff for like 7, 8 years. You know what I mean? And when they had the unveil, they talked about nothing but TV, TV, TV. And again, you know, which I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but your hardcore audience came there to see games. You know what I mean? And you guys
Yeah.
talking about nothing but movies and the features of the console. You know what I mean? Which I wish they would have stayed to the dream, the cloud, and all that stuff and digital. I think that was dope, but you know they panicked and scrapped that. You know what I mean? But like I said, going forward, you know what I mean? Like I said, two questions. Like I said, I want to ask you, and we can probably close the show with that. Do you think that we're still dealing with generations? Like, you know what I mean? Do you think what I mean by that? 'Cause I remember Phil said something along alluded to something like, no longer will your game library get old. No longer will your controllers get old. You can bring it along with you. Do you think that we're still dealing with generations? You know, from Microsoft and Sony, or do you think everything going forward is going to be both backwards and forwards compatible?
I mean, obviously, with Microsoft, it's pretty clear. You know, whoever you listen to from Microsoft camp, you know, they say that it's pretty much end of generation for Xbox, right? You know, you will actually, you know, get new consoles and stuff, but as you said, you know, these going to be, you know, backwards and forward compatible, right? Obviously, there is going to be some kind of limit because, you know, they will not be able to keep the, you know, the like 15 years old console alive because it's just going to be, you know, too old. So, you know, at some point, even like original Xbox One is going to have to be phased out, right? So probably in next like 3 to 4 years, probably, right? You know, it still may get some games once for a while, but it's not really going to be like fully supported, right? So, but you know, you will have this, you know, continuous, and you will have the whole. You will be able to keep your library of games and stuff. Everything will run on the newer console. So that's pretty clear with Microsoft where they're going. But with Sony, it's not necessarily that clear. Although, you know, I don't think they will go a proper next gen route either, because, you know, the question is, what do you call next gen?
But the PS4 Pro, another reiteration of that. What's the move here with Sony?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they will have PlayStation 5. I'm sure they will call it next gen console because it sounds great. It sounds good. Okay. But you know, in terms of like real, you know, performance and, you know, the compatibility and stuff, I think they have no choice than, you know, adds backwards compatibility to the PlayStation 5. Otherwise, no, many gamers will actually just get angry and they may not get their sales because, you know, back in the days you could just basically sell all your, you know, older consoles and games because everything was physical. Right now, you get mostly like digital sales, and it's growing and growing every year. So what are you going to do with those games? You want to still play them once for a while. So it will get a lot of people upset if obviously they won't be able to use these games. So next gen console is a console that, you know, comes out. It comes with their own kind of exclusives and stuff, right? That previous generation do not get. So in this sense, yes, we may get, you know, next gen PlayStation 5, but from technical perspective, you know, the new PlayStation is not really going to be this so-called, you know, next gen, because it's, you know, if they release PlayStation 5 in 2019, it's probably going to be like, you know, 10 teraflops machine. Probably with much more, you know, powerful CPU, but still, if that's going to be released in 2020, then probably we're talking about 12 teraflops. So it's going to be, twice as powerful as Xbox One X. Would you call it a next from from technical point of view, I wouldn't think so.
What do you because my mind said what I called the more I say a beefier version of the Pro. Would I call that a next gen console?
I mean, they will have to ditch PlayStation 4 Pro, really. I mean, in terms of like, it's not really going to be an iteration of it. They will actually have to use, a new CPU, new GPU, much more faster memory system. Otherwise, I mean,
that's when it comes down to, like I was saying before. And again, I'm just being a fly on the wall here. Listen to some devs talk about Sony and their API. It's like it's easy for Microsoft to go from the OG Xbox, I'm sorry, the Xbox One that came out in 2013, to the Xbox One S, which is slightly more faster, and then to the Xbox One X, which is much more and not miss a beat. Where here's Sony, what I'm hearing is not as easy because, like I said today, they couldn't give you more or less a beefier CPU or whatever the case may be, or different because of their API and the way that their games are coded. Sony really didn't invest in that, right? That's what I heard. Now listen, I'm thinking this is breaking it down in layman's terms. They said a bunch of other fancy other stuff, but that's what I got from the gist of it. You know what I mean? How would they go, like I said, moving things forward? Now, I look at it like this. The reason if Sony doesn't allow both forward and backwards compatibility, that's them being greedy. Because look at PS Now, right?
Yeah.
They're charging you again, and this has always been a big gripe of mine. They're charging you again for a game, to say God of War 3, that you may have already, bought in digitally. You know what I mean? Now, I understand you had the cell processor, and it's kind of difficult to whatever. But it's like Microsoft does with, what they're doing with the OG Xbox, that they're doing with the 360. Through software, you're able to play those older titles. Sony really doesn't have an incentive to do that because why? They still want to sell you PlayStation Now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They still want to, sell you, PlayStation Now. So I look at it as the gift and the curse because to say if they don't, move the generation forward or make everything both forwards and backwards compatible, we don't have to wait 2-3 years down the line to get a God of War. We can get one day one, and you already have the install base there. You already have about 60, 70 million whatever consoles in a while. You know what I mean? But because these companies do believe in not making more money on software than they do on hardware. Well, you say, what? The PlayStation 5. It will be maybe, God of War's coming out for it, but we start the software fresh here. It's not going to work on any of our older, platforms. You have to go out and buy a new console. Like, I don't know. It's like the gift and the curse. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I really don't have I don't know, an answer or no opinion. I'm okay either way. I'm always going to buy. I'm always going to buy the newer hardware because I'm a gamer. I have a YouTube channel. I'm into tech. But I really don't have it, either way. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. What do you feel? You think they're going to move forward? You think it's a bad idea, good idea?
I mean, like technically speaking, they will have to come up with a brand new console. They cannot go any more iterations, right? So they cannot really make another PlayStation 4 Pro, right? Because it's just basically too old of a hardware, and they will have to use a brand new technology, like probably Ryzen CPU of some sort, Vega GPU, or still Polaris but more powerful, and much more faster memory system. So it's going to be a completely different system in terms of it's going to be new technology. But in terms of like raw performance, it's not really going to be that much more powerful than whatever we've got right now on the market, right? It's just going to be like twice.
So what do your guesstimation for you and the tech guy? I understand that Ryzen and Vega is the new thing, and I guess whatever Microsoft, because word around town is they already at the drawing board what they're doing with the successor to the Xbox One X. You know what I mean? So,
a couple of weeks ago, I made a video where I was kind of like playing with some numbers, right? And looking at the way the technology progresses right now, we kind of like get a new consoles every year right now, right? Because we've got PlayStation 4 Pro, which is like 4.2 teraflops, and Xbox One X is going to be 6 teraflops. So we've got like, let's round it up. It's extra 2 teraflops, right? So we can assume that by this time it's sticking to the same processing, a CPU processed and stuff. It's just like 2 extra teraflops every year. But so if they go into 7 nanometers FinFET technology, then they may get extra boost out of the GPU and stuff. So I'm thinking that PlayStation 4 Pro, PlayStation 5, if released in 2020, it may be roughly around 12, maybe 15 teraflops, right?
15 teraflops, Jesus.
I mean, if they use 7 nanometers technology, it is possible.
But here's the thing, what would that cost us? Anything, even in 2020, right? And console gamers. Now listen, you have some guys complaining about $500. I don't have a problem with that. I paid $600 in 2006 for the PS3. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, but two things I guess with console guys are more or less price. But and again, loans. I don't know. Again, so we're talking about. I don't say. Maybe I would say Sony's next console, or maybe 8 teraflops. You know what I mean?
In 2020.
Yeah, but listen, because you have what's the most powerful card you have now? A GTX, GTX 1080i.
Yeah.
Okay. Now listen.
Okay. So last year they released GTX 1080, right? It's 9 teraflops graphics card, right? This year we've got an 1080 Ti, which is 12 teraflops, graphics card. So right. we're talking about what 30% increase in performance in raw power. So I think we can pretty much apply the same to consoles. So if Xbox One X is 6 teraflops machine right now, so next year if whoever would like to release a console and obviously price it at $500, they could make 8 teraflops machine.
I would still say I wouldn't expect Sony's next console. Me even saying 10 is a stretch. The reason why I still say that because it's still a console at the end of the day, and just because you have a GTX 1080 Ti or whatever, and you have 12 teraflops, all that's not allocated for gaming because we all know that this on your PC you have Windows. That's a system resource hog. You know what I mean? But on the console side of things, whatever's there, whether you have 10 teraflops, 9 teraflops, everything within that closed environment is allocated for gaming. You understand what I'm saying? So again, I would love. We're not getting it yet, but I will. Could you imagine a game built from the ground up just for the Scorpio? The Xbox One X, 6 teraflops in a closed environment. That will blow our mind now. You know what I mean? So I mean, I don't know. Technology is forever moving forward, and like I said today, but that's if they do the right thing. They may take another step like Microsoft and Sony did with the PS4 and the Xbox One. When those consoles came to market, it was already about 3 years, outdated. At least about 3 years. So again, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, as I said, right now the most powerful graphic card on PC market is GTX 1080 Ti, which is like, as I say, 12 teraflops graphics card. Vega is on the horizon. Then we're going to have Navi and Volta from NVIDIA. So these going to be the next gen sort of graphics card with 7 nanometers technology. So I can bet that these graphics cards are going to be much more powerful. So we're probably talking like 15, 16 teraflops, and that's probably next year.
I'm not negating that on the PC side of thing, but again, a console, you've seen a GPU for a GPU for a PC is much bigger. The console mostly get the mobile side of things. That's a lot of heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but right now, but that's the thing. Both PlayStation 4 Pro GPU and Xbox One X GPU are being made in 16 or 14 nanometers technology. I think next year AMD is planning to slowly move to 7 nanometers technology, which means it's going to be more efficient, power efficient. It's going to be smaller, less heat and stuff. So, and obviously that's easier and cheaper to produce. That's why I'm thinking that 10 teraflops in 2020. I think it's possible on consoles.
Okay. Well, okay. Last question.
I mean,
I'm gonna let you go.
that's just obviously my thoughts and
No
speculation.
problem. This is our opinion. You can never be wrong about your opinion. My last question before I let you go. Thank you for joining me. Do you think Nintendo will get with the fact? You know what I mean? Do you think they will ever release a capable console, or they're going to still stay with the gimmicks and what they're doing? Well, first of all, you're a fan of the Switch, or I don't know, you're a fan of the Switch?
I'm not really a fan of Switch. I played it a little bit. I've got a friend who's got one. It's fun to play and stuff. Great console if you want to move and stuff. I wouldn't really call it like a proper stationary console. But if will Nintendo think about making a more powerful, really capable system? Well, at this point, I don't really think so, because they as they said, they not really chasing the pixels, they're not chasing teraflops. As I think Reggie did say a while ago, that they are more about gaming experience and stuff.
That's about, but yeah.
So I mean, at this point, I don't really see Nintendo chasing those teraflops and resolutions and stuff. I don't know. There were some rumors talking about like a proper stationary Nintendo console being in development and stuff, but that these were just rumors, and obviously there's no nothing concrete here right now. And basically, if Switch was to be a failure, then maybe Nintendo would obviously rethink their strategy. But Nintendo seems to be doing just fine. Obviously it's we still will have to wait how well it's going to be selling, like 6 months from now, 12 months from now. But I think Nintendo Switch is going to do just fine. And I think that Nintendo is not really looking to them the more powerful consoles and stuff. I mean they will probably release some sort of iteration of the Switch at some point, because they did that with the Nintendo 3DS. But it's not really going to be really, really powerful. The level of power of Xbox One X or PlayStation 4 Pro is out of the question with Nintendo, I guess.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you, Madz Gaming, for joining me.
Thanks for the invite. That was a bit unexpected.
I'm gonna plug your channel at the bottom. I would like to work with you more in the future if you're free. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I enjoyed the podcast really. So yeah.
I mean, like, you know what I mean? Hey, you see the best of both worlds. Poland, got my man in Poland. I'm here in the ghetto in America. We're making it happen.
Exactly.
With your schedule, like where you were, like I said, I would like to bring you on in the future. Or listen, ask your question. What do you have going on your channel? Is there anything that you're doing? Anything you want to plug while you're here now?
Well, obviously, I'm a YouTuber. I've got Madz Gaming channel. You can check that out. I deal with mainly kind of like more technical aspect of gaming.
Yes.
I don't really do any reviews and stuff. I comment on some important stuff. I cover Xbox, PlayStation, PC news once for a while as well. So check it out if you like.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for rocking out with me. I do apologize about the technical difference. I got booted out and came back on, but I'm gonna see if I can find what exact minute mark it is there. And listen, like I said today, I'm about to I'm about to live stream in a little while. I'm about to hop on maybe some Gears Halo. I'm gonna leave the link down to that. And also too, shout out to the guys, the Patreon supporters. I appreciate you guys. They've been rocking out with the Patreon. Shout out to you guys that donated in the super chat. Thank you, appreciate it very much. And if you guys want to continue this conversation with me, personally, here's a link to the website. Like I said, once a month I give away a free game to the most active person on the site there. And here's the link here. Like I said again, to the Mixer, Mixer.com. Mixer. .com. And like I said, if you want to I spelled this shit wrong. I'm bugging. Like I said, if you want to come join me and talk about, like I said, what we're talking about today, the new PS4 Pro. Do you think Sony's bugging? Do you think next gen was full of shit? Do you think my man Madz Gaming was full of shit? If you enjoyed the conversation, hit the thumb up, the likes button. But I'm about to hop online right now and play a little Gears, a little Halo, and make it happen. We out here. Thank you guys for rocking out with us, man. We going. They say stay tuned for more. Yeah, hit them with your
Stay tuned for more.
We out here. Thanks, bro.